All right, so as the IT geek in the room, I'm the only one, right? There aren't any other geeks here? No? This is wait time? Any geek? Okay, good. There's one other one. Perfect. We need to talk about infrastructure, because Troy's talked about a lot of things that are important to teaching and learning. Talking about modeling, talking about behavior, talking about all sorts of really important things that teachers need to know and be able to do. There's a side of the house in a school district that has to make sure that you can do those things. And I don't mean that you have the skill set. I mean that you physically can do them. So I want to talk about why infrastructure matters. And it does in some pretty important ways. Equipment is essential. This is an SMS text messenger that I saw on the Sky Mall flying over here. For $20, it is the walkie-talkie of the 21st century. It talks to one other device. It's pair that comes in the set, and you send text messages back and forth. That is a piece of crap equipment. I mention it here because many of our schools and school districts and teachers and kids are advocating for the purchasing of crap in our schools. And we need to stop that. We need to make sure that the device we want to use will accomplish the purposes that we have. Okay? The other side is that if we think the devices are important, we have to figure out a way to pay for them and get them into classrooms. Now, used to be that it meant we have to buy them for everybody. I don't know that that's so true right now. Many of our kids bring their own devices, and we lock them out. Let's start encouraging folks to use those, and then we can worry about the kids that don't have them. And that's a different sort of equity, and it's an important one. In our school district, by the end of the year, any guest with any device can connect to our network. That's super. Leads to another problem. This is our current bandwidth. At the top is the maximum we're allowed, 100 megabit. Do you see that line that's all the way at the top? Guess what happens when you let people use your network? You need more network. And it's unrealistic for us to think about teaching with video and audio and media and up and down and in and out on the internet, streaming, and folks coming in and going away, unless we're actually making sure that we have the pipes and the infrastructure to make it work. We still have problems with 19th and 20th century infrastructure. How many of you work in a school where the roof leaks? Okay? So we have some things to work out here. But it's essential that we think about our network. Now, Troy mentioned that folks are starting to solve their own network issues too. You know, wireless providers want to sell us our own connectivity that follows us wherever we go. Cool. You want to use it in my school? Great. Just show me that you're using it for stuff that makes sense. That leads me to policy. Our old policy was you use our stuff when we tell you to. Our new policy needs to be, I don't care what you use. I care how you use it. In our school district, we rewrote our technology policy. How many of you have recently reviewed your school's technology policy or your district's? What we looked when we reviewed it was, first of all, it was 8 pages long, and it didn't make sense to anybody but the server guys in the back room. That was great for them. Unfortunately, there's 2 of them. There are 3,000 staff and 26,000 kids in my school district. We had a bit of a language problem. We rewrote this policy with an audience of a 5th grade student in mind. And instead of writing about what you can and can't do with devices and chat is bad and email is okay on Thursdays and you can't do this with wikis and Facebook is dirty and will get you detention, we tried to write about behavior. Because it's behavior that's really what we care about. And it makes more sense to worry about making sure your kids are safe in your school than you're worried about where the threats are coming from. So if you're being a jerk to a kid behind a locker because you're bigger than him and you're picking on him, that's just as wrong as if you're being a jerk to a kid on the internet because it's wrong. And it doesn't matter that it happened on the internet, it matters that it happened. So we had to rethink our policy to get us to where we are. And I hope you're engaged in conversations like this one. Hey, technology policy is great, but there's another bit of policy language or map that should be an important piece of your schools. If your curriculum says that you care about PowerPoint, you've done it wrong, to quote my friend Zach Chase. You're doing it right if you're thinking about presentation. You're doing it wrong if you're thinking about Word. You're doing it wrong if you're thinking about Google Docs. You're doing it right if you're thinking about how do I capture words and share them with other people. Your curriculum should reflect those behaviors and ideas and attitudes as well. And these things should all talk to one another. Your policy should make sense in the context of your curriculum. In some cases, they don't need to be different. In other cases, they do, and it's important to think about. The reason why you have a good infrastructure is so that you can make sure you're looking after your thoughtful practitioners. Any of you thoughtful practitioners? Good. If you're not, get thoughtful. Okay? Because here's the deal. When it's about behavior, and when it's about practice, and when it's about curriculum, you become more important in the situation, not less. What we've tried to instill in our teachers by opening up our internet filters is that we don't care where you go on the internet. We care what you do when you're there. And somebody between the computer and the brain of the child needs to be involved in what's happening, both to praise and evaluate and to manage and to support and to facilitate, but also to say, stop that. It is not okay. And our teachers with our filters don't feel equipped to have those conversations. That's not fair to them if they don't feel that way. We need to make sure that we're making it so that they can. The goal in all of this is anytime, anywhere learning. Imagine that you run, say, a 50-building school district. And you have 50 sites where you care about what happens for the kid. Now imagine that you actually care about the kid when they're not in your 50 sites. And so you have a 51st school. And that's your school's network. That's the way that kids and grown-ups and people can interact with the learning opportunities in your school district. In the state of Colorado, we have online learning explosion. By the way, so do the rest of you, because that's a national trend. And everybody wants to draw kids from other districts so that they can make money. Guess what? There ain't no money to be made there. But here's the opportunity. We can right now go after all the things that make local great and local important and support it through blended online spaces to support what happens in our physical classrooms, or we can't. If we do, we have the opportunity to provide a real 21st century learning experience for our students and our professional and technical staffs, because a learning organization should be about learning for everybody. If we don't do that, all those districts who want that money will do it for us. And we won't be in the business of educating children anymore, because they'll all have moved to places who've done that. That said, more important than anything else, on the infrastructure side of your environment, is what is getting modeled. What's actually happening? How do you show your kids? How do you show your teachers? How do they show the administrators? How do the administrators model for everybody what it looks like to be a learner? And how can you use your network and your infrastructure to do that? Good example, my friend Dan Mass in Littleton, Colorado, was the guy who said the internet filter website should not feel like a punishment. You ever get to the page on the internet that says, this is blocked, and then you feel like you've done something that will result in you being arrested, or you just feel like you need a shower, right? What should happen is that should be an opportunity for you to feel supported as a kid or an educator and say, hey, is this somewhere I should be and I can't be there? If so, here's how you get there. And if this isn't, hey, why are you trying to get to that place right now? What are you thinking? We must model in our infrastructure the learning, the teaching, and the experiences with content, people, and relationships that we think are really important. That's what I'm thinking about in terms of infrastructure right now. These aren't new problems. This is my wife's email signature. I love it. I love it. I love it. This is a screen grab from my iPhone. The world is passing through troublous times. The young people of today think of nothing but themselves. They have no reverence for parents or old age. They are impatient of all restraint. They talk as if they knew everything, and what passes for wisdom with us is foolishness with them. As for the girls, they are forward and modest and unladylike in speech, behavior, and dress. Peter the Hermit, 1274. That was 11th century, or 12th century, 13th century, I forget. You know what I'm saying. Okay? As for modeling, I promised my friend Chris that I would say this because it's worth saying, and I just like reading his words out loud. He was struggling with how does he be a writer as an administrator? How does he walk the learning walk? And I just think this is worth reading too. I realize the way you do it is to do it. You write the blog entry. He was talking about writing on his blog. But this is true for everything else in terms of modeling that we do. You speak truth to power when you have the opportunity. You tell the IT guy, dude, this is educationally unsound. You tell the kid, don't go to that website. You tell yourself, I probably don't need to check Facebook just this minute. okay? And you serve the children who have put their faith in you. You let their voices rise, and you let their voices inform and embolden your voice, because that's what's needed, and that's how we win. Infrastructure matters, and it's important, and it's an important piece of this puzzle. Now I'll turn it over to Sarah, who gets to talk about the funnest part.